Buonasera a tutti, good evening and welcome to the Italian Radio Hour. Io sono Viviana and I would like to welcome back our listeners and anyone else listening online on khbradio.com. Also be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook at the Italian Radio Hour and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch up on any past episodes. Vorrei dare il benvenuto ai nostri ascoltatori da tutto il mondo, grazie per essere con noi anche oggi, mentre continuiamo il nostro viaggio per l'Italia e la cultura italiana. We're approaching the holiday season and we are all dreaming about going to Italy. And today's guest is a very special one that actually would not need any introductions because she has made us dream about Italy for many, many years. But Italy's travel and lifestyle expert Kathy McCabe's first trip to Italy 26 years ago was to rediscover her ancestral home. And the visit inspired Dream of Italy, an award-winning travel magazine and website in 2002. Since then, it has grown into a public television travel series, reaching more than 60 million viewers, and a podcast of the same name recognized by the New York Times as one of the 13 podcasts for wandering souls. And McCabe is also the author of a new companion book, Dream of Italy, Travel, Transform, and Thrive, published in 2021. But before we bring Kathy on with us, just a little bit of pubblicità. Parli italiano? Do you want to learn, improve, or master your Italian? Istituto Mondo Italiano can help. Located in the heart of Regent Square, Mondo Italiano offers small group classes and one-on-one private tutoring to help you learn Italian in no time. Visit us online at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org. Un caffè, per favore. My first cup of coffee sets the tone for my entire day, and I get my coffee at La Prima Espresso. La Prima has been brewing Pittsburgh's best coffee for nearly 35 years. Try any of their in-house roasted varieties of beans from all over the world at home, or come and enjoy an espresso or a cappuccino at any of their locations, where their friendly baristas and familiar faces will make you feel at home. Because a trip to La Prima is like a trip to Italy, only closer to home. Well, Kathy, benvenuta. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, you have returned from a very, very busy travel season.
That's true.
And getting ready to bring us more of Italy. It's so exciting. I'm so happy to have you because your commitment to share what Italy has to offer. And again, not just the traditional places or even the traditional places with a twist, and just your philosophy and your approach towards discovery. And also what I like, you have really captured the ability to enjoy some La Dolce Vita. Like, yes, check off some of the sites because after all, you're going to Italy. But then you're also a big believer of let things happen to you. Maybe have a cafe, watch people, engage in a conversation.
Yes.
And then, so it's really refreshing because being from Italy, seeing that passion and that knowledge, it just makes us, feeling loved.
Yes, I think Italians really appreciate it, and they really appreciate people who, there's a great, as you know, this great bond between Americans and Italians, and they really appreciate people who try to engage in the culture and the language and who are passionate about it. They're very passionate people, as you know.
So let's actually rewind a few years back, and let's talk a little bit about your growing up. Tell us, because now you're joining us from Colorado, and but you are from New Jersey originally. Is that correct?
I am. Yes, I am.
So tell us a little bit about your growing up experience and whether your Italianness played some sort of role, or is it something that you discovered later in life?
A little bit of both. So I grew up in Springfield, New Jersey. I was the only child, and my mother was a teacher and she worked. So my grandparents, my maternal grandparents, my Italian American grandparents were my daycare. So I was very, very, very close to my grandparents. My grandfather, I think, was one of the most formative influences in my life. And so there were a lot of touches of, they were, it was their parents who were the immigrants. So they were first generation, but they had this amazing garden that took up almost the entire backyard. And I would help my grandfather with the gardening, and I had a little worm farm, and both of them were great cooks. And we ate really, really well. And they would occasionally speak to each other in Italian. I don't know that they were fluent. I mean, they may have been when they were children, but it was more dialect if they didn't want me to hear or understand something that they were saying to each other. And my grandfather, was a great dancer, a very charming, and a very, occasionally volatile. I mean, a very passionate. There was a lot of speaking very loudly and yelling and passion. And so I actually, for a high school project, wrote a biography of my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
And this was the first time I heard of Castelvetere, the town his father was from. And a relative sent me these translations of birth certificates from like the 1700s and 1800s. And I started to ask my grandfather about it. And this town my grandfather had mentioned it here and there, and it was really this mythical place to him. And in the 1960s, my grandparents went on a cruise that landed in Naples, and he asked the cab driver, please take me to Castelvetere. But he was taken to the wrong Castelvetere. He was taken in, I think it's out in Val Fortuna, and it was ours is Sul Calore, and the roads were still really bad from the war, and he didn't know if he would make it back to the ship. So when I graduated from college, my mother gave me a gift. My father stayed home with the dog. My mother gave me a gift of going to Italy. And we said, we have to go to the town. And we showed up in this town. I mean, these two blonde women, and my family were actually Norman invaders. And that's why my grandfather had red hair. My mother was blonde. I'm blonde. So we show up in this town, these two blonde women in shorts and sneakers, not really Southern Italian attire in the 90s, but it was really magical. And my grandfather was 93 and living in New Jersey in a nursing home, and he died 36 hours later.
Wow.
Never knowing, or for sure knowing, that we had found the town.
Probably not the certainty that maybe someone communicated to him, but I'm a truly believer that maybe his spirit.
Oh, absolutely, because it was his dream. And so, I mean, after that, such a dramatic exit from this life, and we were so close, I feel like he gave me Castelvetere to soften the blow of him leaving. And then, I went back many times and started this newsletter magazine 20 years ago. And then when I started the TV show, I did a whole episode on the town that my mother had stage 4 cancer, but she came and she filmed. And she and my great grandfather and other members of our family feel they've had great miracles because of the Madonna, Della Grazie, in the town. And we filmed, and my mother and I walked behind her. And actually, since it premiered in 2018, and both my parents who were in the show have passed away. So, but you mentioned that I had just come back from travels. I've gone back a few times since my mother passed away, and I went back to Castelvetere and to see the Madonna in September.
Yes. So before you dove into this beautiful enterprise, what was your previous occupation? Was he still related to journalism, or was this a completely change of career?
I always wanted to be an international journalist. And for undergraduate, I went to Georgetown University School of Foreign Service. And in order to graduate, you have to be fluent in the language. And I did French to my I love France, but, and they have a wonderful Italian program there. And I remember senior year, I was like, oh, maybe I'll take Italian. And it was 5 days, which is sort of intensive. And it wasn't like I was partying all the time or anything, but one of my greatest regrets is not taking Italian at the university level. And, when my brain was sharper. And then I worked in TV news. I worked at ABC News. I worked for Peter Jennings. This is many years ago in the investigative unit. And then I worked for a company ABC owned in London. And then I worked at USA Today, politics, and then in travel, which was my last corporate job. And so I would go to Italy on my vacations, and I felt that there are so many other people who love Italy. Like I do, and I started this 20 years ago.
And so obviously the evolution of everything that you offer to us is just amazing. I'm going to try to find a couple of issues of the magazine.
I have. This
Yes,
is the most recent one, and I definitely have to renew your membership. Thank you for being on here.
Because,
and this is so crazy. I mean, this is how beautiful Umbria is. I took this picture with my iPhone, and I'm not a photographer.
And
I actually had taken the dog out at like 6 a.m. in September, and this is what it looked like.
So for those of, for some of our listeners who might not have subscribed, first of all, there is a wealth of information, not only the current issues that are beautiful, but then there is a whole content of these so many years worth of articles, and it's just amazing. It's
190 issues. Like 190 children.
Yes.
Yeah, I've edited every one of them. I've written, I write some, but not all in any way, shape, or form. But over the years, I've written a lot. And so I think it's one of the internet's sort of biggest archives of Italy travel advice. And then in this current issue, we sort of moved into, if you want to stay longer, go up to 90 days, if you're thinking about moving, because that has changed over the last 20 years. That's a huge trend, as you probably know. And it's funny. I wonder if Italians are like, why do they want to move here? You know, we want to move there. And our ancestors came this way, and we
want to go that way. Well, it's interesting because there's still a nice, healthy flux of Italian professionals coming to the US. Here in Pittsburgh, we do have a beautiful community, whether they are researchers, university professors, engineers, so highly qualified workforce. And but there is always that little thing. We always think that we're going to be here for a couple of years. And we're going to go back, and then opportunities, whether it's the same opportunity that allows us to grow in our career or something else comes up, I can tell you that we're all here. I've been here in the US longer than I've lived in Italy, although I'm like 100% Italian in that sense, where I'm the Italian in the US and I'm a little bit of the Americana back in Italy. Or at least that's how my sister likes to So I have a couple of questions for you still regarding the magazine, because I'm always very fascinated about the making of things. So you have contributors scattered all over Italy.
Yes.
You can
or some of them are travel writers who live in the US. One, Kevin Raub, who's been contributing a lot. Kevin, we did an episode in Bologna, and this wonderful woman, Alice, was with Welcome Bologna. And she's like I feel like she's like a sister, and she helped us do the whole episode. And shortly after that, she started dating Kevin, who's a Lonely Planet. He usually is working for Lonely Planet. And he's a fantastic writer. And now he moved to Bologna. They have a little boy. And I think things were a little quiet with Lonely Planet. And he came on and has been writing a lot of articles. And now he's back. He's like in Chile. He travels all over the world for
he did a beautiful article on craft beers in Italy. That opened up.
Yeah, he's really into beers. He's really into beer, and so is Alice, and so that was like their personal passion. And so everyone has, I've met them randomly. Some of them are writers who live in the US who might have traveled to Italy. Very funny. She's come back to work for me. When I was filming that episode in Castelvetere, I met a woman, Carmela, who left in her 20s and moved to Connecticut. And she chit-chatting with her, and she appeared in the show, and then we became Facebook friends. And I was looking for an assistant and she sent this along to her granddaughter, Danielle, who grew up in Connecticut, but Italian grandparents. And then she moved to Rome, and Danielle was my assistant for about a year, and then had 2 kids in the last couple of years, and now she's come back part-time as the associate editor. So she lives in Rome, and so she's right there in the heart of things. And we have this connection from our ancestors. So it's, all different kinds of people who contributed. Sometimes they contribute once, and sometimes they're ongoing, and it's always interesting.
So then the second question about still the making, how do writing about Italy or even traveling around Italy, is like so daunting in a way. So
It
how
is.
do you narrow down issue by issue? Is there a little bit, almost like a sauce where you always have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, despite the geographical territory that you're going to cover?
I've been doing it for 20 years, and we have like a tab, if you come to the website, that says Explore Italy, and everything is categorized by place, or like cooking schools. And so, I kind of know the place. Oh, we haven't done Genoa in 10 years. So some of it is I'm looking and seeing, how long has it been since we did something on Rome? Some of it is like my personal travels. I do return to Tuscany a lot because I have a lot of friends. So I stayed in like 3 different places and just wrote a big article about places I've stayed. And, and then I was actually, Kevin did a fantastic article on restaurants in Bologna. And I'm feeling sometimes like, oh, we don't have enough on restaurants, or, it evens out over 20 years, but it's not comprehensive. So I always still say, get a great guidebook for the museums and the how-to, or get online, and, but for all the other extra experiential things, dream of Italy. And I try, like, we've covered Friuli a number of times, or the Marche, or Abruzzo. I just went to film another episode in Abruzzo, which I love.
Indeed. It's so
I really am partial to the South, or the Central South. I love it all, but Abruzzo is a big place. They were so many immigrants, so many Italians who came from Abruzzo. Well, they're all going back now, and buying houses. And so sometimes it's if somebody has pitched me that article. So it's not as much strategic as you might think. It's just, okay, what
so
and then
what's going on. Maybe.
Also going with, we've done a lot of interviews, like during COVID, I did, these interviews with people who made their dream of Italy come true. And it was sort of, or we did more recipes. I actually found 2 of my grandmother's recipes. And so her family was from Ariano Irpino in Campania. And I have a crazy story about that. So my mom, we went to Castelvetere a few times, but in 2012, we were like, we have to go over to Ariano. This isn't fair to the other side. So we took a day trip with my friend Gaetano, and it's a much bigger city. And we found the Cusone was my grandmother's name. And we found sort of the district that they lived in. And but the interesting thing is I went to Puglia for the first time in 2004, and I just fell in love with Puglia. And my great mistake was not buying a place in Puglia then.
It's going up.
Then I find out Ariano Irpino used to be Ariano di Puglia and used to be part of Puglia. So I'm Pugliese also. I'm very proud of that. So we do, it's kind of like, so during that time, we were doing some things that maybe, if people weren't planning a trip, they had things they could do at home.
Yes. And also, yes. So with the magazine, at least when I got my subscription, and it might be different now, but I think you're running a holiday special, right? On the subscription, but I just loved the cards that were included. I'm going to try and.
Oh yeah. People can buy them. They can still buy them. you know, they're a permanent fixture. I wanted, you know, sometimes we always offer a bonus.
Yes.
And I have done everything from DVDs to olive oil. And I was like, what about card? You know, you can't really buy any cards in Italian here.
Yeah.
And my
It's not
designer
cheesy.
made those.
When you do find one, they're super cheesy, but these are artistic. They're just I don't know who designed them.
So it's an artist who licenses her work. I think it's Sicilian inspired.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bought a commercial license for her for those images.
I'm telling you, this is like the best ever. So
people really love the cards. So you can come over, and if you look at the shop, it says note cards, and I'm just having 200 more sets printed. So certainly whenever anyone hears this, they'll still be up there. And so, yeah, so that was just me thinking of a bonus for the members, and that was what it was at that time.
So before, when you were talking about this last visit, you mentioned this Gaetano person, but you travel always in great company, starting first with your dog who loves Italy, right? And then Sting and Francis Ford Coppola.
And my dog went to Sting's estate for a concert this August also. It's actually the first time I've taken my dog, and he was mine, and then he was with my parents, and they passed away, and we were together through COVID, and he went blind. And I was like, I cannot leave this dog. We're very attached. So I swear to God, Italy revives people, animals, souls. I think he got a new life. He loved it. You know, Italian women fawning all over him and eating well, and the air, all of the things we love, you know, we believe about Italy. I watched this dog and I keep telling him, we're going to go back. We're going to go back. Yeah. So it was fun. It was fun because, you know what? People are very friendly in Italy anyway, but everybody talks to you when you have a dog. You meet everybody. You really meet everybody. Yeah.
So it's good to see that, you know, you were able, you know, the dog had, what's the dog's name? I forgot.
His name is Phineas. His nickname is Finny. He's actually in the other room. And, yeah. And the wonderful thing in Italy, you can bring them, you know, I was driving sometimes by myself. You can bring them into the auto grills, into the restaurants or the pharmacy or the Coop. And, you know, it's actually pretty easier than in the US. And I have to tell you this, I had to take him 2 different times to the vet for 2 different things. And in Cortona, like his eye was bleeding. He had an eye problem and his eye was bleeding. Well, I went to this vet. She was fantastic. Even though I speak some Italian, she spoke perfect English. She did, you know, blood work. She did a full ultrasound, blood pressure, checked the eye, fixed the eye, $150. And it would have been $1,500 at my vet. And they're so well educated. So my old vet is American, but went to vet school in Bologna. And he was telling me how Italian veterinarians, they get like, here it might be 6 months of pharmaceuticals, there it's 2 years. Here it might be 6 months of pathology, there it's 2 years. So I have to say, I was so impressed with the vets. I even went to a vet in Abruzzo who was phenomenal. And the cost, I mean, it was very affordable. So he got sick a few weeks ago, and I was like, I could have flown to Italy, had him treated, and flown back.
Yeah. Well, it's worth mentioning because, again, for people that might be thinking about, because also leaving your pet, like we were gone for the entire summer. It is an investment unless you have a family member or someone that can give
to take care of them. And so I would never hesitate thinking, the vet care. And I know many friends have had good experiences with medical care in Italy. And now I know it depends sort of where you are, but I'm always impressed with the professionalism and the level of aptitude, the studying. And, you know, we did this episode in Bologna, and like the university in Bologna, you know, for so many centuries has been incredible.
So going back to the other 3 famous companions.
The Hollywood stars besides my dog.
And I mean, obviously, you have a long-standing friendship with Francis.
We became friends through doing the show.
Ramaswamy.
Jenny, my dog went to Brahma Sole twice this summer.
Mhm.
She's an incredible woman, very prolific. She always has, she has a new, she's actually doing a cookbook, Pasta Veloce, which I think is coming out
Okay.
soon. Yeah, she's always novels. She did a great book called Always Italy, which is a huge National Geographic book and going to different parts of Italy. And
I think it
so
was I think she covered every single region.
she did.
And then the other book, it's almost like having a home in two countries and how you relate to that.
A place in the world? No. Her recent one was about home. A home in the world? She's gonna kill me. I talked to her about it. She has so many books.
Yeah.
She has a novel called Women in Sunlight about these women retiring in Tuscany. And she's just such a beautiful, her profession was a poet and poetry professor. So she's very poetic in her writing. And
also how she puts her writing together. And I think she had shared a post of different quotes, that she was keeping track of to then come up with her own language, and they were all equally inspiring. So
yeah, wonderful person. Her husband as well. They make incredible. It's really one of my favorite olive oils I've ever had because it's spicy. It's spicy, Brahma Sole olive oil, and it is so good. So yeah, we had so much fun filming together, and we remained friends.
Can you share anything about your sting or Marisa Tomei?
So we did a special. Yeah, no, Sting and Sting and Trudy Styler are very great lovers of Tuscany and of Italy, and they have an estate, Il Pelagio, which you can go. They have a wine shop, farm shop, but now they've made it into a pizzeria also, and so you can do wine tastings, pizza. And you can get their wines in the US. They're really, really good. And so, I was interested to talk to them about, you could go anywhere in the world, they're so famous, and what that's provided to them, why Italy? And they spend a lot of time there, and they produce olive oil as well. And they sell vegetables at the farm shops. The locals actually shop at their little shop. And I think the interesting thing with these celebrities is, and Marissa as well. So Marissa and I, if you look back here, I put all these little Madonnas out, and I bought someone gave some are a gift, but the Black Madonna in the middle is the one in Moyano. And Marissa actually joined me to do for this special episode about the Black Madonna and what she means to this area of Southern Italy. And her family is from the same province as mine in Avellino. She actually took her. I believe she has 4 Italian grandparents, and they're all from different places. And this was the first time she went to Altrepalda, which is about 20 minutes from Castelvettere. And we all stayed in Castelvettere, and it was just by chance. It was very strange. It felt like the ancestors kind of brought us back. So, but what I think interest the celebrities in the show is, Italy is our common language, is our passion, is, I'm not just sitting here talking to someone who's very famous. I'm talking to someone who loves Italy. And I think that really hopefully comes through on the show. And everyone has a story about Italy, or a connection, or a grandparent. And I think it's like our common language.
Indeed. And I don't know, it might be a banal question, but do you think the Kathy that is in the US, do you feel that when you're in Italy, there are some other elements of your personality, or you just feel almost like, I don't want to say a complete different person, but I don't know.
My mother, a few people have told me, but my mother told me that I was the best version of myself in Italy. I feel much more alive in Italy. There's just this frequency. It feels like a higher frequency. and maybe because I don't live there, that I appreciate every moment there, right? And you, as a person who you don't live there, now you live here, so I have a deep appreciation for it because I'm not there all the time. Maybe someday, but I think I glow. I think there's this vitality. But I appreciate the US as well. So I was about to say, that you can't beat the US for efficiency, but sometimes lately I wonder, the US is everything is understaffed and it's difficult. And so it's not, every place has its challenges.
So if you wanted to, and I do remember if your case is indeed complete and you got your Italian.
No, I haven't. I have.
I remember there was something, I think you were applying through a female member.
I have a 1948 case.
So
and everyone needs to do not what I do, what I say. For the last few years, I really did nothing on it. I'm just starting it again, finishing the paperwork. So I will be going to court, but they just changed. It's no longer just Rome. You go to the court now in the area.
Okay.
So they've just changed that rule, or so it'll be probably Naples that I go to, or Avellino. So I should have it in several years. And I certainly could probably figure out a way to live there full time before that if I wanted to. And I have thought about it. I just, haven't done, need that commitment.
Well, it's good to have, again, the ability to hop on a plane.
I think, and I know Frances and her husband do 6 months and 6 months. And, it's hard. It's hard to leave one. And, but I think that's a very nice combination.
Indeed, because it just, anything above 3 months allows you to set up some routines to feel you're integrating in, especially if you're in a smaller town versus a big city like Rome. Or others, where you become a familiar face to the locals. So if you were to go into the bar to get your coffee, signorina or Kathy, without the H.
Yes. And that's what I miss sometimes. Like I often, like when we're doing the TV show where I did stay, I just flew in and because I had the dog, I went to Cortona for like 10 days, which usually I'm bopping around. So that was nice. I like the idea of staying in one place because I'm often traveling around a lot in Italy. And I think, even this new issue we did, people, you can become part of the community, which I think is a thing that we miss in the US, that has changed. I still think a lot of Italy has much more of a sense of community than we do here.
So one of your recent posts, I don't remember who famous person was, but I had a ton of suitcases and you commented, "This is how I traveled to Italy."
Oh, I think it was like that woman from Dynasty with her Louis Vuitton. Was it
Joanne Collins?
Yes.
And
this is not, I am not, okay, first of all, I don't come to me for packing tips. And this is because, so this time I brought more luggage than ever because we were filming in 2 seasons, like summer and fall, but I didn't know it stayed hot like the whole time. You don't know. And, and then if you saw me on my days we weren't filming, I'm wearing like, not the same thing every day, but like, it was just a lot of TV clothes that I'll bring, if it's 5 days of filming, I'll bring 10 outfits. And that day, usually my makeup girl or, my dog sitter who came or whoever's around will help me choose what to wear. But I do bring, I have like a Italian voltage steamer and like a curling thing. And, so I'm not traveling light. And then I have the dog and he has special food. So that was in there. But I did do a thing where I actually shipped my luggage.
Yes, I remember.
Shipped a couple of them and that worked really, really well. And that was nice. I have a bad back, and but yeah, I had a lot of luggage.
Sometimes when my suitcase coming back to the US wouldn't arrive, and that would be like the heavier suitcases, because now, when I go back to Rome, I go to the house I grew up in. And so I still have my closets, obviously with new clothes, but on the way back, that's when the suitcases are
Yes.
heaviest. And so eventually I'm always very, eventually the suitcase will show up. And I always say, well, the best thing is that I don't have to carry those.
I know, isn't it? That would be the solution if I just didn't. And the interesting thing, I use luggage forward, and they use like FedEx and DHL. So you cannot put like food products, medication. So I couldn't ship everything. I wanted to put the dog food in there, and then I found out. And you want to be careful because it really goes through customs when you ship it. So you can't have something in there that doesn't work. But it was a really nice thing.
Okay, so I'm going to try to see if I can share one picture. And there was indeed me this summer. And I had tagged you because I was in.
Oh, you have the book.
And a beautiful Terme of San Pellegrino. And I was so revitalized, not only just by the spa, which is a beautiful facility if you've never been there.
Oh, I love, I haven't been there, but I love all the Terme of Italy.
Yes, I think you were.
Saturnia is the one I always go to.
Yeah.
Or
this is kind of a brand new facility, and all these little pools with hydromassaggio, and just a beautiful facility. So I'm just there lounging. It was probably this summer we traveled. I was really on the road quite a bit, but that was the day that my husband and I decided to kind of take it off. And I had your book. And
how nice.
So I was really enjoying it because I was in the moment. I was reading you, and I was just feeling in a very special place. So I would like now to spend some time talking about the book that I believe you dedicate to your mom, Kathleen, and your dad, Stephen. And I think also in some other broadcasts, you were talking about your mom was having, I think, either a passion for beads, or she created jewelry.
Yes, she made this. She made this necklace. She when she started to travel with me all the time, she would buy Venetian glass beads, and or like beads all over Italy, and made beautiful, beautiful jewelry. And I have a lot of her pieces. This is one.
Wonderful, wonderful. So she kind of felt, because you also give some recommendations on how you can continue your dream of Italy in different ways when you return from your trip. But do we want to talk a little bit about the book, how it is?
Sure.
And so I'll let you take the lead on that.
It's actually, so it's a companion to the 1 hour Dream of Italy Travel, Transform, and Thrive special, which is on PBS, but usually it then goes online, but it's a pledge special. It's not online yet, but I'm going to provide a link for people to see the extended version. And I think it will be online soon because it premiered a year and a half ago. And the premise is Italy can change your life, by one trip, or by moving there, or by spending more time there, or and I think I divided it up into like 11 things that make Italy unique: food, family, community, beauty, just beauty in everything. And for the special, I did tons of research, but a TV show, like 52 minutes, it's really hard to get everything in. And so there's a lot of research, for instance, beauty, that even people who have Alzheimer's retain their aesthetic preferences, and, language, and learning a language helps your brain when you're aging, and movement. Italy is a place we don't move anymore, move our bodies. Everyone's walking to do their errands in Italian cities, or taking bicycles, and just some things we could learn from the Italians. And another premise of the book and the show is that not in the last year or two, but usually Italy tops the Bloomberg Global Health Index as the healthiest country in the world. And obviously, you probably know there's a lot of older, people live longer in Italy, and all these things that make it, the blue zones. Of course, there's one in Sardinia.
Mhm.
And so the book is going over those 11 topics. And then, for family, Mr. Coppola talks about family, and Sting talks about the land.
Mhm.
And these celebrities, but then people who've moved there. And then the interesting thing is we did these interviews with people where Italy changed their lives. So my friend Becky, started a business of bringing people to Cortona, to a man named John Henderson who retired in Rome. And you don't hear a lot of, he's single. He has now as an Italian girlfriend, but you don't hear a lot of like single men retiring in Italy. And so it's just, I think there's something for everyone in the book.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And also there is a rediscovery of different organizations are trying to rediscover the life or some smaller towns. I remember a few years ago, Airbnb had a huge, and now I don't remember the name of the place, but I was wondering, because you have seen so much and experienced so much, if you could recall maybe that one place or even like a small instance that really struck you, maybe you were not expecting it, or maybe just like made you smile. So
I think I feel that almost every place. But I had an interesting experience this summer. I went to one of these €1 towns, and we talk about it in the book. My friend Damien and I actually talked to him yesterday. You have to be pretty careful because people don't realize, you have to be, a lot of the towns are sort of remote, and you have to be willing to, live a certain lifestyle. And he was actually telling me yesterday, I think you can't get insurance while it's being renovated. I don't know. There's always some homework to be done if it's something that you'd like.
There are definitely conditions
to do. But I visited one in Abruzzo, and I was really impressed. I think it's called Pratola Poligno. And the houses were literally within walking distance of a train station, which would take you 10 minutes to Sulmona. And you're like a half hour from the sea, and like you're practically in the mountains, and you're an hour and a half, 2 hours from Rome. So this was one of these towns, and it's going to be in our TV show, where I was like, I'd buy here. And the houses, they're narrow. They're like 700 square feet. You're not probably going to live there necessarily full time, but I was, I'm always amazed by Abruzzo. And I was like, huh. And then I happened to be walking and saw this guy with like a Yankees hat, and he had grown up here but had moved to Connecticut, and and they had a Madonna. Actually, I have one of the mask cards, or one of the cards. They had a Madonna, and I'm like, I got to see your Madonna. So that was interesting.
Yes, and actually talking about Abruzzo, one thing that surprised me, and I'm putting together something, I don't know whether it's going to be an article or some event, but the gold traditions of Abruzzo are phenomenal. So yes, it's something that
is there a certain town?
There are a couple of different things, but what I'm researching is the influence between Abruzzo gold traditions, some of the designs that we see in Sardinia as well. And there's always, if you ask someone from Abruzzo, they will say that they came up with that design first, vice versa. But I'm actually researching that it might be neither Abruzzo nor Sardinia the starting point. So it's
isn't that fascinating?
I'm trying to close on
very interesting.
I was wondering if you did take that little train that takes you to from one
town. We did
wooden cars.
I really, really recommend it. So we did it with I did it with an expat, and we got on in Sulmona, and I think you can take it to Molise. We didn't take it all the way. You can take it all the way to Molise and have lunch and then come back, but to see these views. And I live in Colorado, and I have to tell you, and I'm going to get struck down, and I think Abruzzo is even more beautiful. The mountains and the Gran Sasso, and So the little wooden, it's an historic train, but you really get to see these unique views and all these towns. And I really enjoyed that. And I hope that people also like get a chance to do that themselves.
That was another little discovery, because I did I think there is the option, even the 2-day where you actually stay. Maybe that is the one that takes.
Oh, that might be, it goes all the way to Molise.
And
Yeah.
so we stopped in a couple of different towns, and also during the free lunch, there was a wonderful restaurant for arrosticini. And
Oh yeah. Yeah, rostaccini. I did that in my first Abruzzo episode. It's delicious. And
yes.
Yeah, I mean, Italy is endless. And I mean, I didn't even talk about like every other place I've been. It's such a rich culture.
Mm-hmm. And so Sulmona, also something else that the actual town of Sulmona, well, it's famous all over Italy for the confetti, the Jordan almonds. I think that's what. And the uniqueness of the ones in Abruzzo is they don't have, I think it's cornstarch in English, but it's amido. And even the one of the royal couples, the younger ones, I don't remember the names, actually got their bomboniere made in Abruzzo. So it's they got some royal exposure there. And then the garlic, l'aglio di Sulmona. And when I got there, I was so lucky that the mercato, the open market, was what's going on. So when it was, and you see people, that's where you really see the locals, and you see
any kind of market is a great idea.
Some of the vendors or farmers are maybe 200 years old, but they're the most knowledgeable people. I just got there, so I was kind of, I love to interact with them. And then when they were closing up, because some of them were just, didn't have like permanent stalls, so they just had tables. And before I know, they just gave me everything.
So generous. That's very sweet. That's very, very sweet. There's some great food in Abruzzo everywhere. But I had some great meals in Abruzzo.
So anything else that you would like to share with our listeners? How much can you actually disconnect from your, I'm almost curious do you actually know what spare time is?
I'm trying to rediscover it. I promised myself, I used to play a lot of tennis, and I was like, oh, this year I'm going to start playing again, but I didn't. I'm trying to, I just, I've had the TV show as its own full-time thing. And then I have this, and so I'm trying to figure out a way to have more spare time, but I really do love it. I really, really love it. And, like over Christmas, I'm probably not going to go anywhere or take a vacation. I just spent 2 months running around Italy. So just kind of decompressing from that. But I should, I talk in the book too, the work, Italians have a better work-life balance than Americans. And I think that that's something to be admired. And I need to find that as well.
So, well, it's just like there are certain things that, of the expectations that, if you send an email to someone, you feel compelled that you have to respond within seconds, or again,
that's our world now. And it's a trap, and I fall into that too. And I've tried to do like more things where I don't go back to my work email till Monday, but that doesn't really happen. But we're in a crazy world where I think people, it's such a sudden thing, and that can, you need to have time and space, especially with creative type projects, to pull back and to think about it and think about how you want to do things. And so I'm working on that.
We didn't talk in details about the making of the TV show, which I'm sure a kind of behind the scene, what happens, also the retakes, or I don't know, something curious.
Oh, I will tell you something interesting.
Never get to see, but
that's almost everything you see is the first take.
Okay, wonderful.
If I'm doing a stand-up where I'm saying something, but I'm the most natural when we don't have time. Like if we're doing a cooking lesson and, so you pretty much, I'm best just the first time I do it. So that's real, kind of the real deal for that. But I think the thing with the TV show is sometimes we film 12, 13, 14 hours of footage for a half-hour show. It's a lot.
That's
Yeah.
really, the editing, I bet, is equally.
Yeah, we just started editing it takes a couple months. Yeah.
Yes.
For each episode.
So you bring your own crew, you don't, or do you hire locally when
it's this time it was all Italian. So I used both Americans and Italians, but this time it was all Italian and I love them dearly. We have a lot of fun, but we work really hard. So yes, it's a combination depending on who's available.
So Kathy, we are at the end of our conversation. Again, this has been so delightful, and just being able to get squeezed in your busy schedule is a true honor, especially now that we are coming closer to the holidays. Again, if there is one last message or anything, so that any of your beautiful products and services could make wonderful gifts. So
yes, there's wonderful gifts. You can get a free sample issue at the website. There's definitely lots of free articles, and you can watch all the episodes except the last special at dreamofitaly.com or at pbs.org. So I think it almost, I feel like about 90% of what I do in the show, 85% you can do yourself, and we actually have guides. Like you can go and take, actually one of my members called me, she took a tortellini making lesson in Bologna with my two favorite sisters. And so, you can even go to Sting's estate. I don't know if you'll see him, but you can go to the farm shop. And so you can live the dream also.
Okay, wonderful. So keep on living.
I have that right back there. I think it was from Home Goods, which is amazing.
So il Big Bang ha detto stop. It is time for us to say arrivederci e alla prossima. We want to thank you for tuning in to the program. If you have any questions or comments, or if you have any trouble topics you would like us to address, please contact us at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And remember, if you or any of your family and friends have missed a prior episode or would like to listen to this episode again, please visit our website at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org and click on the Italian Radio Hour. We would like to thank our guest, Kathy McCabe, our sponsors, Istituto Mondo Italiano, La Prima Espresso, e Alla Boara for the music. And remember, if you're not living in the Pittsburgh area or might be out of town, you can catch us streaming live at khbradio.com every Thursday at 5 o'clock. And be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook at Italian Radio Hour. Until next time, alla prossima. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.